This video is sponsored by World Anvil. It's time you transfer the incredible worlds you've created from notebooks and scattered graph paper onto World Anvil for everyone to see. Take the monsters, NPCs, locations, the thousands of years of lore you've painstakingly created and transform them into articles. Organize, associate, and create using the intuitive systems that make World Anvil the best world-building tool. I'm using World Anvil to build my game world. Seriously, you should be too. Click our link in the description below and start building your world. And now what you're here for. One quick word about our sponsor, World Anvil. Use World Anvil as a DM tool as well. Keep track of your players' characters, stats, gear, backgrounds, anything and everything with the digital DM screen. Upload that commissioned art for your players or NPCs. Give your NPCs the identity they deserve. Need ideas for your own homebrew world? Check out the incredible examples that people have made in the World section. I love the new prompt system. Get inspired by how other people answer unique world-building prompts and incorporate them into your world, or write your own. If you're a creator, writer, mapmaker, portrait artist, or fan of tabletop RPGs in general, you need to check out World Anvil. It's incredible. Click our link in the description below and build your world and share what you make with us. When that guy ended a 13-year-long friendship and tore apart entire family over D&D. Hi everyone, All Things D&D is back with another story. People are the best and worst thing about D&D. It's hard getting a group together without some personality conflict. But in this story, that guy tries his best to manipulate and ruin the game for everyone. At least it has a happy, if bittersweet ending. Tell us about your that guy experience after listening to this one. My husband and I started playing D&D about 2 years ago and instantly fell in love. We knew that our siblings would love it too. And so, a little over a year ago, we started a game of our own, with my husband as the DM. We invited my brother and his girlfriend, my husband's sister, my sister-in-law, and an old friend of mine who I'll call Kyle. Kyle is someone I've known for a long time. We met when we were around 14, meaning that at this point we've known each other half our lives. Our parents were good friends for a long time, and so he kind of became a part of my life. He was sort of a friend, but also regularly drove me crazy and made me mad. And I always sort of felt like he was family that I was stuck with. There were times that we were great friends and I loved hanging out with him. And there were times that I couldn't stand him. Anyways, right around the time that we were forming our group, he was going through a nasty divorce, and I felt bad for him, so I invited him to join us. After about a month and a half, he started flirting with my sister-in-law, and she clearly reciprocated. This was in late October when he was trying to sell the house he had bought with his wife. Not ex-wife yet, they were waiting to sell the house before pursuing the divorce. By November, my sister-in-law was helping him move and had a key to his apartment, and by January they were officially dating. Fast forward most of a year until November 2021. Over the year, our little game grew to a big one with a massive 9 players. We had been working our way through Tomb of Annihilation for months, and finally made it to the end. Hooray! While we were in the tomb, Kyle got the Book of Vile Darkness, which frustrated me because a lot of the detrimental effects that came with the book affected all of us. The worst one being that it makes all nearby potions useless. Kyle is both a massive rules lawyer and a terrible metagamer. For a month and a half, anytime anyone tried to use a potion, he asked them where did you keep it, and how close are you to me, because heaven forbid he miss any chance to mess with the party. After we made it out of the tomb, we came across some Yuan Ti who wanted to take us back to their leader to complete a side quest. We were supposed to find a crown for them, which we did. They said there would be a reward and a feast waiting for us. Immediately, Kyle started saying that he didn't want to go. He didn't give any explanation or reason for it, even when we asked him repeatedly. A lot of the players have a tendency to just sit and wait for something to happen, which they were, so I put it up to a vote. Going back for the reward won by far. So we did, with still not a word from Kyle as to why he didn't want to. When we got there, we were taken into a room full of chests filled with gold. The Yuan Ti asked for the crown. Kyle responded, I don't know where it is. I looked at him funny and said, you had it, where did it go? He just kept saying, I don't know where it is. No explanation, nothing. Someone asked if he had lost it. I don't know where it is. The Yuan Ti threatened to kill us all. I don't know where it is. My sister-in-law talked him into letting us go, but by that point it had been over an hour of him first refusing to go, and then refusing to tell us what was going on, with no explanation, and I was frustrated. I asked if I could punch him. In-game, of course. I play a monk. He just walked away, and since the DM isn't a fan of PvP, I wasn't able to. Finally, our characters all ended up outside. I asked Kyle again where the crown was. He said I was the one who had it, and I was the one who had to sacrifice to get it. To get it, he gave up a copy of a book that he had two of, one of which came from me. You were useless, so I don't have to tell you anything about what I decided to do with my own stuff. I saw Reddit that. I wanted to scream and cry, but instead I just left the room. Most of the players, including Kyle, were online, but there were two in the room with me and the DM. They played for a bit longer, and when they were wrapping up, I came back and told my sister-in-law that I want to divide up all the money and items that she's been holding for the group as a shared adventurers fund, since we were clearly no longer working together or sharing items and information. She realized I was upset, and later texted me to make excuses for him. He really didn't know where it was, because without talking to any of us or the DM, he decided it was too evil and made it undetectable for the next 1,000 years, which made it even worse. At this point, I think it's important to mention that the DM realizes he messed up in this situation. He's still new to DMing, and with such a large group, he has a tendency to get a bit overwhelmed and tune out things while focusing on something else. During this time, another character was being mildly uncooperative. This player can be problematic that way too, but to a much lesser extent, and the DM was dealing with in-game consequences of that, and one of the other players was trying to steal some of the gold that we were supposed to get as a reward, so the DM was dealing with that. I believe there was a third thing in the middle of that as well. He wasn't aware of how long this conflict had stretched on for, or how difficult Kyle was being. He also didn't pay a lot of attention to a text Kyle sent him saying the name of the spell he had used on the crown. He didn't send any explanation, and it was a spell that he would have just gotten with the level up after leaving the tomb, and that would have been extremely noticeable to the rest of us when he was casting it. The DM completely missed checking it out because of everything else going on. Since this, my husband has been working on his DMing skills, and as a group, we're working on being more careful to only have one thing happening at once to help him out. At first, my husband didn't understand what was going on, or why I was so angry. He asked Kyle to come over the next day to talk things out with me, but Kyle refused. I sent Kyle a text explaining why I was upset, that I understood he was speaking in character, but that I thought he went too far. His response really put things into context for me. First, he told me that I shouldn't be upset because it's just a game. Then he listed a bunch of reasons why he should be upset with me. Finally, he wrapped the whole thing up by accusing me of messing up his relationships and saying that next time I should act like an adult and just talk to him, which was literally exactly what I was doing. Here's the thing. His response didn't just make me mad, it reminded me of something. I overheard one of his last arguments with his ex-wife when I was helping him clean up in his house to sell. He argued with her the exact same way, and suddenly I realized just how toxic this man is, and why he's frustrated me and made me angry so many times over the years. He's an abuser who's been manipulating and gaslighting me for years. I told him that I wasn't going to let him talk to me like that, and he literally cropped a text my husband had sent him so that it looked like my husband agreed with him, and sent it to me. I sat down with my husband/the DM and explained to him what happened, and he realized just how much of the fight between me and Kyle he had missed, and finally understood why I was so upset. We compared the messages we had both gotten from Kyle, and realized that he was actually trying to pit us against each other. Kyle's last text to my husband said that he was going to take a break from D&D until I figured myself out. Well, unfortunately for him, I did. Kyle and I met up at Starbucks, and I told him that he was no longer welcome to play with us, and that while I recognize that he's probably going to be family, this has been a pattern in our lives, and I'm not willing to be a friend to him anymore. That conversation was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, partly because we do have such a long history, and have honestly been friends at times, and partly because even while I was telling him that I wouldn't be manipulated anymore, he was trying to manipulate me into thinking that I was wrong, that he didn't say what I thought he did. I went home crying. And then my father-in-law, husband's dad, got involved, called my husband and told him not to stand up for me or express his support for me. I won't go into detail on that situation, but it is ongoing and has pretty significantly damaged our relationship with him. My sister-in-law and Kyle got engaged just before Christmas, and while I'm glad that she's happy, I'm terrified for her. My husband and I tried to keep her out of the conflict, but of course Kyle dragged her into it. At one point, she repeated an argument word for word to my husband that Kyle used to use against his ex-wife all the time. Kyle's a very logical person, and his ex-wife, or in this case I, am very emotional, and so he can't see the emotional side of the problem, and we can't see the logical one. Seeing that and even writing it out now, it makes me sick. So to sum it all up, a problem player decided not to cooperate in or out a game, tried to tell me I had no right to be upset with him, made me realize that I've spent 13 years letting him manipulate and abuse me, and seriously messed up my relationship with my husband's family. All because I felt sorry for him and let him play D&D with us. While this may seem like a horror story, I firmly believe it's a tale of glory. It's crazy hard to stand up to people. Very few people like conflict, and kicking a toxic person out of your group is challenging. So at least from my perspective, congratulations. Please let us know what you think and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D. Our videos are posted every 5 days, so stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.